Hi, Mark Mordew here at Bondi Beach. It's barely more than 12 hours since the terrible incidents last night at the start of Hanukkah, when a celebration was planned here for the Jewish community, their kids, a family event, end of day. It was interrupted by two gunmen, one 50 years old, the other 24, a father and son. It seems pretty apparent now that that was an extremist Islamist assault on the Jewish community and on people living here in Bondi. Brutal, horrific. There was absolute chaos. Police and ambulances and paramedics arrived at speed. I know there's been some criticism, but given now we're seeing figures that 16 people were killed, including the 50-year-old gunman. The other gunman's in hospital in a critical condition, as are two police officers also struggling with serious injuries. I really think they did their best in a very difficult situation. The reports and the news that I've seen are just incredible, disturbing, and also encouraging in some strange way when you see the man who stopped the gunman in a tremendous act of courage and bravery. I mean, someone like that gives you a real sense that tolerance and love and caring for other people are not gone despite the horrors of the day, and that the day itself also shows how much people love each other. One can sort of say that in such difficult hours. I saw police on the main boulevard walking along, a group of about 4, and I just had this impulse to say morning, and then thank you for all the work that you're doing. And they really responded to that. I had a sudden surge of almost wanting to cry. It's a very strange atmosphere here. The water is a kind of silvery grey for the most part. The air's hazy. There are some dead birds on the foreshore as well that just, naturally sort of has its sort of disturbed environmental symbolism to it as well. It's easy maybe to feel that there's only bleakness, but being here, there's a strange church-like feeling. People are very quiet, not talking much, if at all, and when they do talk, they're talking in whispers for the most part. As you move along through the main drag of Bondi and down onto the beach, this sort of feeling of reverence as well as depression, of some sort of silent respect as well as trauma, is very apparent here. But clearly something needs to be done with regard to the way we speak to one another, the way we speak about one another, the dialogue online, which already is escalating. The need to be honest without sort of seeking to brutalise one another. The need to recognise that antisemitism is a very real and very powerful, ugly force, and that it's been growing, and that Islamic extremism is a danger in this country, and that it needs to be called out. It needs to be called out by the Muslim community as well as the wider Australian community, and absurd hypocrisies of speaking about issues like decolonisation and how the colony must fall when people are critiquing Australia Day, dismantling any sense of unity about the country. rather than adhering to those symbols and seeking to reform them in order for us to find a way to come together, rather than sort of create some type of sort of tribal righteousness is important. We're constantly seeing good concepts, moralities, political ideals corrupted and infested. Anti-racism becomes a covert Trojan horse for antisemitism through this kind of critique of Zionism. There is always this sort of encoded language that poisons the water. Some of these problems date back through to the divisive energies that reared up during the Boys, that have been happening here again since October 7. What Israel did before October 7, what it did after, still does not negate the horror of October 7 either, nor does the kind of events here in Bondi that echo pretty horrifically the music festival where so many young people were slaughtered not far from Gaza, change the reality that there is this toxic ideological religious poison flowing through societies all through the West, Australia included, and we have to pull the temperature and the extremism down. And it's not just about what we think, but the way we think and how we express ourselves that is important. And that includes a tolerance for disagreeing with someone else's thoughts, offering correction, refinement, expansion, instead of simply treating it like it's some sort of fucking football game where your side is the right side and your side must win at all costs. I've seen enough artists and writers and other public figures speaking in private and in public with a quasi-Malcolm X sense of radical liberty, virtually saying by any means necessary is the way to go. And it's not only disgusting, it's dangerous, and it's time that we move towards a more humanitarian centre in our public dialogues, a more heterodox set of gatherings where conservative and liberal, using a small c there and a small l, thinkers were able to be together and debate, and where people can come together from the different communities involved and do a little better than despise one another, and essentially be functionary vessels for hatred, because that's how we end up with a situation like today, where two radicalised people, a father and a son, wreak havoc upon an iconic destination, because it's always the iconic destination that is desired, and this is why people are so concerned about the march over the bridge, this co-opting of icons in the name of something good that suddenly finds itself in a reappropriated and brutalised realm, because it's a victory of symbols as much as action, supposedly a victory anyway, but we're seeing, I think, the beginning of something else here at Bondi, which is also a feeling of a community down by the beach coming together, and a wider concern for what we're becoming, not just through hate speech, but through the intensity of the way we analyse, think and argue with one another. So I guess I'm hopeful that in some way or another, in the coming days and weeks, we can both toughen up with regard to criticising people from the extreme left as well as the extreme right, and see that we're just being dragged into horror, and that we really do need to learn something better about how we speak in public in order to prevent this type of event growing out of the language of hate that is all around us at the moment.